guys, and good evening. Wow, thanks to those people that already liked the video. Thank you. Let me arrange my towel dress. I hope all of you know how to cut this line now. How to take it out of. So, hello, good evening, and welcome to our live class for today. So, good evening, good evening, good evening. So, please let me know if you can hear me. I want to know. Can you hear me? Just let me know in the comment section, please, so we can go straight into our tutorial for today. Yes, please wake up today. So please let me know. Okay. So can someone please let me know in the comment section if you can hear me so that we can go straight into our tutorial for today. All right. Good evening. Your voice is cracking. I hope. I hope. Is it okay? Once it's cracking, just know that someone is network. Oh. Is it okay now? Is it still cracking? Please let me know if it's cracking. Let me just take off the microphone and straight, okay? So is the voice is it still cracking? Let me know if it's still cracking so I will go. Because most times once it's cracking, just know that it's the network. So I'll disconnect the microphone and then do my normal voice. Please let me know, is it still cracking? Is the voice cracking? So that we can start straight. We can start our tutorial straight for today. Okay, so someone please let me know. I So can someone let me know, please? Okay. Okay, it's better. Okay, it's clear now. Okay, if you thank you so much, Faith. Thank you so much. All right. So, guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut an off shoulder bustier. So today we're going to be cutting off shoulder bustier with a slanted hemline. So I actually okay, thank you, Dorcas. I had to cut it. I had to snap it. Thank you, Miracle. You say it's still cracking. It's fine, ma. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you. So this is what we are doing. So I actually did not get the. I had to snap it from this from my video now as I was live. So this is what we are going to learn how to do today, okay? So let's get started. So I'm going to adjust my camera and then we're going to start straight into our tutorial for today. So you can, okay, thank you so much, Miracle. Thank you. All right, so now let's set our table, making sure that every part of our table is captured. So that's just it. So guys, let me know where you're watching me from. Miracle, where are you watching me from? So you can see the four edges of the table is captured now. So let's start, okay? So we're going to start. So the first thing we're going to do, let's put a start line. So we're just going to mark like it's have a start line. So this line is going to be our off shoulder line. Oh, my nails, like this is going to serve as my start line. Okay, so that's going to be the off shoulder part of my so these are the measurements that we're going to use today. So we're going to do a plus size. So this is the bust is going to be 40, under bust is going to be 32, waist is going to be 36, and then the hem is going to be 42. So these are the measurements we'll be using. Okay, so the next we're going to do now, so we're making an off shoulder bust here. So we're going to use 5 inches for our off shoulder. Okay, so you can use, thank you so much, Miracle. You're watching from Niger State. Wow. So when you are making an off shoulder bust here, you need to take out some inch from the length of your pattern. Okay. So you can see how I place my tape. So I place my tape. I placed it at 5 inches. Okay. So 5 inches is what I'm taking out. So you can take out as much as 6 inches. You understand? You can take out 6 inches. So it depends on you. But 5 inches is just like a standard, which is okay. You can take out 4 inches if you want something that is very high. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Aww. Maureen, thank you. I appreciate you. All right. So You can see the 5 inches. So 5 inches is what I'm taking out. Okay. So after placing your tape like this for the 5 on that shoulder line, the next thing you want to mark is your bust point. Okay. So that bust point, now for this, we are going to use 11 inches for our bust point. So this is 11 inches or 11.5 since we are doing a plus size. So let's do 11.5. This is 11.5. Okay. So after 11.5, next thing you are going to do, the next length, one, two, three, going to the after 11.5, you are going to have 14.5. You understand? You're going to have 14.5. So it's usually 2, 3. You understand? So the difference between bust point and under bust is usually like 3 inches. For people that are very plus size, you can get 4. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nkechi. Thank you so much. God bless you for the love and support. So the difference is 3 inches. You understand? So once you have 11.5, know that definitely you are going to have 14.5. So if you take this measurement like this, you can never go wrong. For instance, if your client, thank you so much, thank you, butterfly. If your clients, if they give you maybe a bust point, and you don't know the under bust, you can just estimate it works. Okay. So the next thing we are going to do now at this point, after marking that point, which is our under bust, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to mark our waist. So for the waist, for this, the waist measurement I'm making use of 18.5 inches. And then after 18.5, I'm going to add 2 inches. So this 2 inches is going to serve as my half cut because the back is not a slant back, it's just a normal straight back. So now I'll connect all of these lines together and then we'll label the lines. Okay. After connecting them like this, we'll label them. So you guys should drop your questions, drop your comment, let me know where you're watching me from. When I'm done, I'll come back and then answer all of the questions. Okay. So these are all of the lines. So now let's label them. The first one is our shoulder line, since it is an up shoulder. And then the next one is our bust line. And then we have our under bust. We have our waist. And then we have our full length. Okay. So these are all the lines that we are going to use. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to mark our shoulder measurement. Even though it is an off shoulder, you actually need the shoulder measurement. Okay. So what you are going to do, you can decide to take out 2 inches from your shoulder. You can decide to take out 1 inch from your shoulder. Okay. So for this now, what I am going to do, my shoulder measurement is for 15. So when I divide 15 into 2, I'm going to have 7.5. So this is 7.5. I'm not going to mark 7.5. I'm going to take out 1 inch from my shoulder. Why am I taking 1 inch from my shoulder? Is because I'm not still going to add any allowance to it. So with that, that will be okay for me for the chest area. For me, mark it that way, and then from that point, I'm going to mark my armhole. So for the armhole that I'm going to be making use of, because if you notice, you see that that's just a small tiny sleeve. Okay, so you still need like an armhole. So for the armhole, I'm going to use 8 inches. So like I normally explain on my live classes, armhole is your bust circumference by 6, then you add 1.5 to it, or you just measure it round and curve it. Okay. So this is my armhole line. This is the armhole for the back. So the next thing I'm going to do now, we're going to create out our dart. So for the dart, we're going to use our bust pan, which is nipple to nipple. So for this one, our bust pan, I'm going to use 5 inches, which is 10. Mark it. So it's usually is 9. I'll add 1 inch to it. So that makes it. So I'm just going to mark all of these lines like this. So after marking all of these lines like this, I am going to connect it with a straight ruler like this. So just watch, you can see. I'll connect this with a straight ruler. So after connecting with a straight ruler, the next thing I am going to do, I want to take out a dart of 1 inch. So in order for me to take out that dart of 1 inch, I am just going to come to this point. I'll divide that 1 inch into 2. There's half inch to the right and then half inch to the left. Okay, like this. So after connecting that like that to that point, I am going to connect it to this armhole point, sorry, this under bust. So from that under bust, I can decide to jump up a little bit, and then I will, from that point, I will just connect. I'll connect it like this, okay? For that dart. So that dart, I'm going to extend it to the waist because this is a half cut, understand? It's not like this is not the hip line. So I'll just extend it since it is a waist dart. So I'll take out this 1 inch from the back. So after this thing we're going to do now, we'll take out our full body's measurements. So for the full body's measurement, our bust is 40, just like I explained. So you divide 40 into 4, we have 10. We'll mark that 10 inches, and then I'll add like 2 inches or 2.5 inches for my allowance, okay? So from this point now, I'll come to my under bust line, which is 32. So when I divide 32 into 4, I'm going to have 8 inches, okay? So this is 8 inches. Remember our 1 inch that even though this point did not get to 1 inch, but just approximate it and add it as 1 inch. And then after adding it as 1 inch, you would add your stitching, okay? So from this point, so stitching allowance, you can add between 2.5 2 inches. But most times when I normally add 3 because I don't want stories that touch. So from here, I'll come to my waist. My waist, so I'll divide 36 into 4. I'm going to have 9 inches, okay? So divide that into 4, I'll have 9 inches. I'll mark the 9 inches here. Remember my 1 inch, I'll bring that back into my pattern. And then I'll add my stitching allowance, okay? And then for the full length, the same thing that I have, because it is around the waist. So the same thing that I have for my waist, that is what I am going to mark, okay? And then after marking all of these lines, we are going to connect them like this. So you join those together and then join these ones like this. So you can see, can you see how beautiful this is? So this one, I'm going to extend this one to that armhole line like that. So when I extend that, so automatically it's like this. So the next thing we want to do now for that back, we want to mark our neckline. So it depends on how deep we want it. Remember, we are taking out 5 already for our excuse me, we took out 5 inches. So when you are marking the neckline, you put that into consideration, or else you are going to buy market. Because if you go and measure your neckline like this from here, it's not going to be good. But if since you are using a pattern, you might be able to correct it. That's notice it on time before transferring to your fabric. Or if not, so for the back neckline, we're going to use 9 inches. So it is most times back neckline is usually a little bit deep. So the next thing I'm going to do, so you can see the way I'm just marking neckline like that. So you can see. So I'll just mark that neckline. So the width, I'm using the whole, because it is an off shoulder, you understand? So I'm using the whole width of this back like this, just to mark out my neckline like this, okay? So I'm using the width of the shoulder because I want to take out everything from this part. So there are some off shoulder that you can decide, okay, I don't want to use the whole part. I can decide to like, okay, let me use mark my off. Let me mark it to like 4.5 inches. And then when you mark that, you are going to mark this. So just watch what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you guys two ways. So when you mark it like this, the next thing you will do, this part, you blend it into this armhole area. Can you see? So with this one now, this neckline is not going to be too deep. You understand? It's not going to be too open at the back because you used 4 inches. You can see because we used like 4 inches or 4.5 inches. So if it is 3 inches, you are taking whatever you took from here. The next thing you are just going to like blend it with your armhole. Okay. So I just want you to know. So the next thing now we're going to cut this off. So we are done with our back piece. So I'm going to cut this off now. So guys, if you are just joining us, you're welcome. Let me know where you're watching me from, okay? So after marking, so I'm going to mark this, I'm going to cut this like this. So let me show you guys. This was the first one this is the second one that I mark. In case you don't want your neckline to be too open, you can actually mark it this way and then you blend this part like this. You understand? Can you see? So when you are fixing your, maybe like now you are fixing your your shoulder strap is going to be here. So but this one, since this one does not have shoulder strap, that was why I blended it into the armhole. That's like just cut off everything. So can you see? So with this one now, my back um neckline is going to be very open. If I'm making of this, okay, it's going to be very open. So this is our back piece. So if you want to snatch the waistline, you just follow all of the things that I've taught. I'm not doing that today, so let's just continue. And now we're going to draft our front our front piece. So if you have a question, you can drop your question on the comment section. So once I'll come back and respond to all of your questions. So now we're going to add all of our lines back into this pattern, okay? So the first thing we're going to do again, we're going to add our we're going to add our shoulder line. So this is the off shoulder line, which is serves as the shoulder line. So the next line we're going to add is our bust point. So the bust point is 11.5, just like I explained to you guys. And then the I'll show you guys see what I was doing. I said the way I placed my tape. I've forgotten that I'm doing off shoulder, and then I placed it like normal. So that was what I was saying, that it's very easy for you to make that kind of mistake, okay? So this is how you place your off shoulder mark, like this. You place it this way, and then you mark your 11.5 this way. And then after marking 11.5, you mark 14.5. That's the under bust. And then you mark, and then for the half cut, that's for the waist section, I'll use 19. And then from this 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll use that part as the slanted part, okay? So for this, I'm not going to add a bust dart to this. I'm not adding bust dart to this pattern. So because of that, I don't need so much extra. The only extra I added is what will create the slanted waistline. That is what I added. So I need to double check my measurements before I mark. Let me not go and mark wrongly, okay? Okay, so this and this, okay. Okay, so the next thing now, we are going to continue. So now let's mark out our shoulder measurement, just like I explained. So your shoulder, you take out 1 inch from your shoulder. So when we take out, so we have 7.5 for our shoulder, which is 15. So when I took out 1.1 inch, I'm going to have 6.5. So from that 6.5, I am going to mark my armhole. So I'll mark my armhole, which is 8 inches, okay? So I'll just connect it like this, and then I'll give it a curve. So for this, because it is the front pattern, I am going to mark that line. I'll run it to the end like that, okay? After running it, the next thing we are going to do, I'll create my curve for my armhole. So I'll just create the curve. Okay, so after creating the curve, the next thing we are going to do, let's take out our darts, okay? So for the darts, I'll use my 5 inches, just like we did for our back pattern. So I'll mark all of those points like this, okay? So I'll use my straight ruler to connect all of these lines like this. So that chest line side, I'm not going there. So when I have need to extend it, I'll do that. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to take out our mark. So this is our line. So this is our chest line, this is shoulder line, this is bust point, under bust, waist, and then full length. Okay, so these are all of the lines on the pattern. The next thing we want to do now, we want to take out our darts. So in order for us to take out our dart, so for the dart, I'm going to come to this side. So I'll use 2 inches for my dart. So that 2 inches, I'm placing my 2 inches on one side. Okay. So when I mark it like this, I'm going to connect it to the bust point Can you see? So you just connect it to the bust point like that. So after connecting it to the bust point, I am going to extend that. I'm going to extend it. So for the down, I'm not going to use 2 inches for the down. I'll use 1.5 inch, okay? Because the person has tummy. So I'll extend it that way. So after extending it that way, the next thing I am going to mark. So for this, I want the pattern. I want it to be like a princess dart pattern, okay? So the next thing, what I want to do, the next thing, I'm just going to extend this a little bit, okay? And then from the midpoint of this point, remember that 5 inches that I marked here that time, that's on my chest line. So this is where it will come in now. So I'm just going to curve and then create that my curve like this. Can you see? So I'm just trying to play around. So let me use my curve. So let's give it a good curve this way. So after covering this part, I'm definitely going to extend it, okay? So I'll extend it with like 1 inch, which is okay. So I'll curve it that way. So the next thing I am going to do now, after this point, I am going to create out my full measurements, okay? So just watch what I'm doing. In order for me to create out my full measurements, I'll come to this point like this, and then for the front part, so what I'm going to do, the whole of this part, I'm going to cut it off. You understand? This whole part, because that neckline is going to come. Good evening. You're watching from Zambia. Thank you so much. I'll come back and read everything. So my off shoulder, I want it to come to like 8 inches. That's to get to the chest line area. So this is the chest line, which is 8 inches. So from that chest line, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a curve. You understand? I'm going to create a curve like this. You see that curve is going to cut through that part, and then it will end on that 8 inches line. So that is that neckline that you see on that picture. So in order for us to create it, you need, so you can see how I just cut that part out like that. So you just cut that part out. So after cutting that part out now, the next thing, let's take out our full body measurement first, and then we'll do some tightening, okay? So the next thing now, our full measurement is our bust measurement is 40 inches. That's the circumference, which is 40. And then from that 40 inches, I'm just going to add like 3 inches for my allowance. So why am I adding 3 inches for my allowance? So that in case I want to tighten this bust area, which you should do, you understand? So I'm going to use from that point. So the under that same bust point, the same thing that I have at that bust point, I'll bring it to my bust point. That's my chest line. I'll bring it to my bust point. And then my under bust is 32. So when I divide 32 into 4, I'm going to have 8 inches. And remember our 2 inches for that. You bring that back into your pattern, and then you add your stitching allowance, okay? And then from this point, you are going to come to your waist. So the waist measurement is 36. So when you divide 36, so these are all the measurements. Like, so when you divide 36 into 4, you are going to have 9 inches. And then you add your 2 inches allowance, and then add your stitching allowance, okay? So when you come to the down part, which is the full length area, this is the addition that we're going to use for the slant. We're going to mark our waist measurement. That's our hip measurement, which is 42. So you divide 42 into 4, you are going to have 10.5. And then remember this 1.5 inch for our dart. So you bring that back into our pattern, and then you will add your allowance. So let's connect all of our lines together first before we continue. So I'll join those 3 lines together. After joining those 3 lines together, I'm just going to set my pattern curve this way, and then give it a beautiful curve this way, okay? So the next thing we're going to do, let's cut out that neckline first. So from the armhole area like this, I'll cut off this armhole like this. So when I cut off this armhole like this, and then let me cut off the sides. Excuse me. So when I cut this off like this, the next thing I want to do, I want to tighten my bust. Understand this bust here? I want to tighten it from to the right hand side, and then this one to this point also. Okay, so with that, so that I will not have any, so for this I'll take half of an inch to this side. So that half of an inch, I'm just going to blend that into this point like this, because I'm going to cut that off. You understand? When I'm cutting here, I'll cut that off. And then for this part, this right hand side, I'll take half of an inch also. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll take half of an inch to this point. So when I take that half of an inch to this point, I'm going to use my pattern curve like this. You guys should please like the video. I forgot to say, you guys should like, you see some three dots on this side, just click it. You see the like button and then like the video. Okay, so from this point now, so at the end of this day, you can see I've succeeded in taking out 1 inch from this part. So this will help me to tighten that part. Okay, so the next thing for our slanted waistline, you remember this is our waist, you understand? So from this waist, I'm going to create that slant. You understand? I'm going to, so I just realized that if I'm going to be doing a slanted waist, I need a full pattern. I just I just realized it, that I need a full pattern. I don't need a half pattern, because if I create it half pattern like this, it's going to be like a basque waistline. So I'm just trying to get my pattern and then see if I can join it. Okay. I just realized that I need a full pattern, because I need to spread it open and then create the curve. All of the part. Okay, I'm coming. You guys should just hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I need to do this. So let's cut this out first. Let's just cut this out before we create the slant. So you guys can see that this is a real plus size. It is big. So the next thing, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place this like this on my pattern, and then I will cut out first and then spread it open. Okay. So I'm going to cut the second ones. You understand? So when I'm done, we will now spread them. So I'll cut. This is now the center. You know, normally it's supposed to be joined together. This is now the center front. So I'm just trying to cut it so it does not. Okay. So that's for the center. And then the next, we are going to cut the sides. Okay. Okay, so after marking them like this, I am going to open this up. So at this point now, I can take this off. You understand? So I'm going to join these two now. They are going to be, so this is going to be our center front. You guys should pray for me. Let me be able to open this thing today that I've fixed my nails. You guys know that these nails, I actually did them this evening and they are not so dry. So see, during the process of doing this video now, everything I've scattered. I'll have to even myself the thing tire me. Because normally I'm not supposed to touch. I'm just supposed to go and I'm supposed to just relax and touch nothing. But mhm. But there's nothing I could do. I've already fixed live stream, so I've already fixed live stream, so there's absolutely nothing I could do. So the thing don't scatter my nails. Okay. So now, so at this point now, I will now choose where I want my waistline, where I want it slanted to. Okay. So I think I'm looking, I'm looking. Where do I want to slant it to? I think I'm going to slant to this side. Okay. I'll slant it to this side. This this new side. So in order for us to slant, we are going to slant it from the waist section, from this waist, this exact waist point like this, and then it will come to this point. Okay. So I'm even surprised I see my table no reach. Like seriously. So let's mark it first. Okay. So to create that slant, let's use dotted lines. You all know that I love to use dotted lines in most of my projects. I love it so much. So before we slant, I'm going to show you guys. So I've already slanted. Remember, I added about, let's check so that we will know. You understand? So I added about 7 inches extra to the waist of my blouse. You understand? So that is what I am going to be slanting. So note. So for this, you can depends on what you want. You get. So I'm going to cut this one first. So I added an extra 7 inches to my piece, and then I'll cut this. And then I would cut this. So this is the last part. So at the end of the day, can you see how this looks? So that is the beauty of using a pattern. So when I open it like this, I don't like what I am seeing. So I can definitely adjust my pattern properly. Okay. So I can adjust my pattern at this point now. So I'm just trying to make sure that everything fits. The dot lines, they are equal. This side is okay, but this side I really don't like it. So what I'm going to do, I'll keep this side because that side is okay. I'm okay with that side. And then this part, I am going to place them like this. And then I'm going to take this. So anything I do, I'm just going to make sure that I'm not going to get to that point. You understand? Since that side is already okay, I like the way it looks. So from this point, I'm just going to slant this nicely. So once I slant this nicely the way I want, I can now go ahead and cut it. So as I was adjusting it, note I will not adjust it up to this point. Okay, I'm not going to get to that point, that end point, because if I get to that end point, it's going to affect it because I'd already marked it out. Can you see? and then this is going to stay like this. Can you see? You see my slanted waistline? So at this point, you can slant it however you want to slant it. You understand? If you feel that this part is not high enough, you can come up more, you can come down. But whatever you do, make sure that this waist part and the back waist, make sure that that waist part and that back waist that they correspond. You understand? So you make sure, see it, you make sure, let them correspond. So it has to match. You understand? It has to match to this waist point. If you are using 18 for that waist, for the back waist, this point must be 18. If you are using 15, it must be 15. All right, guys. So thank you so much for those of you that tuned in today. So I am tired. Let me go and rest. So let me see your messages. Okay, so let's quickly read. Thank you so much. Okay, 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 it's fine. Maureen, it's fine. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much. Miracle is better now. You're watching from Lagos Ife. You're watching from Suleja Miracle. Thank you so much. Maureen, you're watching from Uganda. Thank you. I love you too. Nice. Okay. Roslyn, thank you so much. Okay, how do you download it? Just go back to my live stream. You understand? When you come to my, just click on my picture and then you go to the home. You will see live. So when you click on the live, you download it just the way you know download your normal YouTube videos. And then you can practice it. That's nice. So Nkechi, thank you. Thank you. I love you too. Udwak, thank you so much. Red butterfly, thank you so much. Red butterfly. Okay, so sorry about that. Good evening. I'm watching from Zambia. Anastewa, thank you. You're watching from Ghana. My first time to watch you. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Rodell Design. Thank you so much, all of you that tuned in this evening. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow by God's grace for another live class. So, bye, guys.